Language is weird, and swearing is maybe the weirdest thing we do with it. Oh, most words are fine. Avocado, Saskatchewan, amphibian dog entity. But use these other words and suddenly it's all, sir, this is a funeral, that's not appropriate language. Also, why are you wearing that dinosaur costume? Also, please stop openly taking Schedule 1 substances during the reading of the eulogy. Wow, 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 wow. Jesus. We may as well start with perhaps the ultimate naughty mouth noise, which we'll just substitute with the German philosopher Kant in a futile attempt to avoid YouTube demonetization. The word Kant's roots are probably Germanic. We don't know how the word got started, but we do know that the strength of the word has changed over time. Chaucer used a cousin word quaint openly in the 14th century, Shakespeare was writing puns with it in the 17th century, and today, like many swears, it functions as the lowest insult and at the same time the highest compliment. In many parts of the world, one might be called a stupid Kant, but in Australia, he's a right good Kant is tall praise indeed. Same goes for he's the shit, just remove the definite article and the meaning is exactly the opposite. Likewise, bollocks can mean false information, or the dog's bollocks, something brilliant. Then there's fuck, the beloved old faithful of the English tongue. It probably comes from Germanic or Indo-European, possibly for to strike, and it is flexible. It can function as an adjective. Is that a fucking penguin? As an adverb, this penguin is fucking unhinged, yo. Intransitive verb, this penguin fucks. Or even as a verbal noun. That penguin has an assault rifle, I think we're about to receive quite the fucking. And judging by the fact that official documents from the Middle Ages mention gentlemen with names such as the upstanding John LaFucker, we can guess that like the word Kant, fuck probably wasn't always as strong as it is today. Anyway, words don't just change in severity, but they also mutate. To be nice, once meant to be foolish, to amuse, meant to deceive. Then there's toilette, a noun borrowed from the Middle French word toile, meaning a little piece of cloth. Next, it came to mean the cloth that covers a dressing table, then the things on the dressing table, then the dressing table itself, then the whole process of getting ready for the day, and then morphed into its current form, the disgustatorium we know and love. In any case, cursing and insults probably work not because of the sound of the words themselves, but because they are metaphors. If you screw up and a Serbian person tells you, you just fucked the hedgehog's back, it's clearly not that you literally crippled a poor hedgehog, but that you are, in general, regrettably, an idiot. Likewise, in Latin, calling someone a public poop pile clearly just meant they were worthless, or in Russian, if someone threatens you with, mate, I'm gonna show you where the crayfish hibernates, really, of course, they just mean, actually, I have no idea with this one, but sounds good, doesn't it? And some languages don't even really have profanity, but the one we're speaking in now does. It is a technology, it is a gift, because the real genius of our species is in language, and the genius of language is in cursing. And it's more complicated than that, because to even get that some words are bad in the first place, you have to understand register, phonology, semantics, all of which we're doing all day, every day, automatically, right now in fact. Meaning, get a load of you, 10 out of 10, no notes, you're a linguistic primate, whatever happens. Even if everything's gone to shit, even if you're miserably listening to this in the bath, drinking vodka and shampoo because you ran out of mixers, you have the superpower of language. Meaning, golly gee, you are doing one heckin' success.
Are you drinking your mother's shampoo again?
Dad, shut the fuck up!
If you're listening to this, then congratulations, you've already acquired a language. But of course, none of us remember doing it, really. New humans usually spend a large amount of their time vocalizing meaningless nonsense. Some people continue this far past infancy. It's called babbling. Even fresh out of the oven, we're already trying to talk. Then between 9 and 18 months usually come our first words. In English, generally mama, dada, or oh god I exist, make it stop. By year 2, most of us have at least 150 words licked, and by 3, we will simply not shut up. Then most of us will go on to nail the 4 main aspects of wordy noises. Phonology, that's the sound of speech. Semantics, that's vocabulary and meaning. Grammar and syntax, learning how words fit together. And pragmatics, knowing what's even appropriate to say and when. And just as children acquire language, presumably civilization had to too. What? Please permit this stock image of a confused llama to signify we don't know. So, did language first begin in our hunter-gatherer past as just simple nouns? Brr. And what was the first language? Well, Tamil is the oldest living language, thousands of years old even, and still spoken by about 80 million people today. But again, brr. And did an enlargening of the human brain make language possible? Or did language encourage enlargements of the brain? Evolution is sociopathic, but it isn't usually wasteful. So what problem did our distant ancestors have to solve that was so complicated we had to evolve not just simple verbal communication, but the capacity to memorize and use thousands and thousands of words? Why did our ancestors need the ability to say, homies, I don't mean to be egregious, but is that a rather sizable apex predator over there? Rather than just, fuck, lion, fuck. Maybe it was for negotiation, maybe for laying down sick diss tracks, we have no idea. Then again, we don't even know why we yawn yet, so baby steps. Still, if we stick with English for now, we do know a fair bit. Just like Greek, Hindi, Catalan, and many other languages, English has its roots in Proto-Indo-European, a language we've had to reconstruct, probably spoken about 6,000 years ago by a bunch of cats who lived between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. Through a combination of the standard human pastimes of wandering around and shagging each other, language families probably grew out of Proto-Indo-European. Germanic began to evolve, then came Anglo-Frisian, Old English, Middle English, and finally the patchwork tongue we're using now. And just 10 seconds of watching what you're saying in English will reveal what a patchwork tongue it is. Do you like waffles? What is do doing there exactly? You like waffles, or I know like waffles, is not only more efficient, it's the structure plenty of other languages use perfectly well. Or OUGH, which can be used simultaneously to spell dough, cough, bow, through, and if you're learning English at the moment, I'm just so sorry, we don't get it either. In fact, English is one of the only languages that can have competitions for spelling. Many languages can't do this, it's too easy because they use phonetic spelling, because they're not fucking mental. Yaucht, deskent, choreograph, English stop it, get some help. And it's kinda telling that once indoctrinated into English's madness, if someone breaks the rules, we know, even if we can't explain what the rule is. This sentence now become loads weird, syntax because all jumble, Ryan Reynolds. Or the fact that in English, descriptions generally have to go opinion, size, age, shape, color, origin, material, purpose, noun, and only in that order or we get upset. A lovely, big, new, blue, fluffy polyester cat bed is fine. A polyester, blue, cat bed, lovely, big, new, fluffy strongly suggests those THC gummies have just kicked in hard. Or register, which is basically knowing which words to use in the context of communicating. There are a few registers in English, but let's just say we're usually talking formally or informally. And it's not always obvious which register to use. You may have found yourself in one of those bullshit interviews with a, hey, we're all friends of the company vibe, where they insist you speak your mind and just be honest. But if they ask what you do for fun, and as requested, you reply honestly,
well, in my free time, I like smoking massive rocks of crack cocaine.
I'd say my biggest weakness is perfectionism. It is highly unlikely you will be offered the position. But arguably, the most interesting feature of almost all languages is displacement. Or rather, we can talk about things somewhere else in time and space. None of us will live to see it, but we can have a chat about Paris in 500 years, or Patagonia 500 years ago. Likewise, you're not here, but I can tell you it's currently 1 AM in Europe. I'm sat in front of 2 monitors with a Word document and a beer. The cat is sleeping on the desk, the light is fairly dim, and you probably imagined something like this, which doesn't sound like a remarkable skill, but it is. It's literally telepathy, it's fucking mind reading. Because language isn't just for pointing, it is the ether in which we distribute abstractions. It's possible without words, even. There's no official name for an ellipsis followed by a question mark, but the meaning is universally understood as, what the shit? And the fact that we immediately get this tells us that humans have evolved way past the era of pointing and entered into the age of signification and metaphor. Things mean deeper things sometimes. Was Captain Oates just going for a walk? Was Moby Dick just about a whale? Are those baby on board signs just about the baby on board? And if you happen to be the sort of person who likes to blow off a little steam by indiscriminately careening into other motor vehicles at top speed, but you suddenly notice this sign, would you avoid that car for some reason? Or is the purpose of the sign really just to tell you that the people driving the car successfully boned at least once? We get it, you reproduced, well done, etc. 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 This is Messier 13. It's a fairly cramped globular galaxy about 25,000 light years away, and in 1974 we detected this signal coming from Messier 13. The signal is composed of frequency-modulated radio waves shifting by 10 Hz, and out of this you get ones and zeros that correspond to 1,679 digits, which is weird because that's a semi-prime, a number divisible by itself, 1, and two other prime numbers, 23 and 73. So you arrange the ones and zeros on a grid, 23 by 73 squares, and you get these shapes. It's hard to imagine this is from a natural astronomical event, but if it's a message, it's even harder to imagine what it means. Because I'm playing, of course, this is a message we sent to Messier 13, not the other way around, but it bears hammering home that if we want to establish contact with intelligent life beyond Earth, not to imply there's any on Earth, universal messages are going to be, really tricky. The Messier 13 signal we sent is called the Arecibo message, and it looks, in full, like this. There are 7 components. First is a primer, the numbers 1 to 10 in binary, then some representations of human DNA, then an approximation of us and our population, then our solar system and which planet it is sending the message, Earth, then the Arecibo radio telescope that sent the message itself. The message only has another, 24,955 years to go before arriving, but when it does, and if it reaches Messier 13 in about 12 more Jesus cycles, it's gonna be a bit of a doozy to decode, because we're assuming in the first place that aliens will understand that this is binary, or whatever their analog of binary is. Next, that the Messier 13ers will know this is DNA, or that they even understand nucleotide biology. Then that they will intuit this is an organism, not a structure or a continent. Then that this is a solar system, not an appendage or a reproductive organ or something, and then that this is a machine. And that's all assuming they even use symbolic language in the first place. To be fair, the message was more sent ceremonially than a real hello, but still, when you think about it, how do you send an unambiguous message to beings of unknown psychology? Well, it's bad enough with us. There are a fair few writing systems by our own species that we still can't decipher, like Biblos script in Lebanon or Linear A in Crete, and that's not to mention nuclear semiotics, which is the study of, we produce a lot of nuclear waste, and the stuff we don't recycle needs somewhere to go because it's hella dangerous, and it stays dangerous for thousands of years. We'll put it somewhere then. Okay, but in the hardly implausible event that civilization collapses entirely, and say in the distant future our great-great-great-great-grandchildren discover our sites full of nuclear waste, we need some way of telling them, this radioactive stuff will make you dead, don't put it up your bottom. And if today's languages are forgotten by then, how do you write that warning without words? That's easy, Really? Because that could mean death. It could also just be a drum kit depending on how morbid your culture is. Or, okay, how about this? So left to right, that's obvious, Unless they read right to left, like literally millions of humans do today, in which case it isn't so much that nuclear waste kills you, rather that it brings you back from the fucking dead. But it's obvious, there's arrows. Yeah? What does an arrow mean if you've never seen an actual arrow? And on top of that, even if we crack universal messaging, even if aliens receive and read our nonsense, would they care? We are the way we are because of evolutionary pressure, because of our specific climb up the tree of life. We could have ended up looking 1,000 other ways. Perhaps we could have ended up thinking 1,000 other ways. Is it universal for other intelligent species in the universe to be curious, or linguistic, or social, or even give a damn about looking across the night for other minds? Who knows, but we're trying to find them, and the Arecibo message is hardly the only message we've sent to the heavens. Between April 2051 and November 2069, the human-sent message Cosmic Call 1 will be arriving in the constellations Cygnus and Sagitta, respectively. Between July 2047 and February 2070, the teenage message will make its way to the constellations Ursa Major, Cassiopeia, and a few others, then Cosmic Call 2, Hello from Earth, and a bunch more. Whether received or not, in transit currently are our first tries at Hello, Our Name Is, our fledgling electromagnetic attempts to introduce ourselves to the great neighborhood. But even then, even if those messages reach other beings, even if those beings understand what they're reading, considering just how young we are technologically, it is entirely possible that more advanced civilizations may well perceive us as babies, still stuck at our early vocalization stage, babbling at adults as those adults silently wait for us to begin the quest of learning cosmic grammar, as we continue like featherless birds chirping desperately across the dark forests. Talking of which, perhaps you've been to one of these fancy international meetups that capital cities like arranging sometimes, and the native speakers of widely used languages will usually seek each other out, and the Brits and the Americans will inevitably start chuckling amongst themselves at the tiny differences in their vocabulary. Oh, you say trunk, we say boot. Oh, you say cause light, we say horse piss, etc. While just a few feet away will be standing someone who uses a completely different system of writing and grammar, someone from Georgia or Tibet or wherever, who won't be receiving anywhere near as much attention for some reason. Someone who genuinely has linguistic differences. Just look at Georgian, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous! But when it comes to language, we seem to be fascinated with similar differences, not different similars. Which is maybe why, for all of our looking out to the stars for talking aliens, we seem a little indifferent about the fact that aliens are sort of already here, and there's about 8 million species of them. This apprentice chonker is called Freya. She's 4 years old, she likes tuna, and when she's really chill, she presents the jelly beans for inspection. Freya has never uttered a word before, but she does sort of say things to me, especially when she's hungry.
You already have food. What's this?
Or rather, she's probably saying, I want something, make you do thing I want, you bipedal furless oik. If communication is trying to put things from your head into other heads, then this is kind of communication. And though her and I share a common ancestor, and though we both enjoy idleness and biographical dramas, her mind is pretty unknowable to me, and I'm quite sure her reality is unknowable to me too. If this little lion could speak, I would not understand her. Sort of talking aliens are already here. I live with a sort of talking alien. Perhaps you do too. Oh, but she's not a talking intelligent alien, you might reply. Well, first of all, what'd you say about my cat? Fuck you. And second of all, alright then, how's about ants? Well, there's probably about 100 trillion of them on Earth, made up of 12,000 species. They form alliances, raid other colonies, and practice division of labour just like us. Working as nurses, foragers, warriors, matey with a door for a head. Matey has a door for a head. And they build societies of a sort. One colony in Japan reportedly held 300 million of the suckers, made of 45,000 nests across 700 acres, about the same size as Mark Zuckerberg's Hawaiian estate, a thriving metropolis. And how? With communication, with sound, touch, and chemical cues, pheromones. Ant pheromones can signal anything from alarm there's an intruder, to I done a good trail, come see, even to propaganda pheromones, lying about allegiances to get inside other nests. Oh, but those aren't talking intelligent aliens either, you might say. That's just mindless group cooperation. Yeah, could one of us build a space program or an airliner or even a pencil all by ourselves? We look like ants from not that far up. But alright, how about bees then? If you're having a lovely day out as a honeybee and you come upon some nectar, you'll want to tell your mates. So it's back to the hive where you perform this figure 8 dance in which you'll communicate the richness of the nectar with the intensity of your twerk and the location of the nectar with the direction of your dance relative to the sun. It's called the waggle dance. Is that language? It depends how you feel about Baudrillard after a few drinks, but either way, we'll never know, because the non-human communication story ends there with insects, unfortunately. Except of course it fucking doesn't. What about electric fish who use their electric fields to chat about anything from "Hi, I'm a boy fish" or a girl fish to "We're getting attacked," as simultaneously they're trailed by sharks who have learned to eavesdrop on these electrical conversations. Or dolphins, who some researchers think are naming themselves with entirely unique whistles, rather impressive if true considering most of us don't even have an original Christian name. Or cuttlefish, who can display 2 totally different messages on either sides of their bodies simultaneously. Or elephants, who seem to be sending seismic distress signals with their stamps that can travel tens of miles distantly through the ground, or chimpanzees who can learn and utilize hundreds of symbols from human sign language. It's debatable whether they really understand what they're saying, but in any case, they can not only count with human numbers, but can outperform humans over and over at memorizing number sequences, or of course, to humpback whales and their songs. The songs are usually hierarchical, units build into phrases, which build into themes, which build into songs. They compose and exchange these songs together inside populations. Many songs are only sung during breeding season, so something to do with getting laid, but many aren't. Sometimes they're used before feeding, sometimes just alone. And why do they sing at all? We have no idea. But if the criteria for an alien we're interested in is can do some technology and communication, has mind we don't understand, and evolved from beyond Earth, many animals are nailing 2 out of 3 of these. And to the third one there, our last common ancestor with parrots lived probably 300 million years ago, 5 times as far back as the dinosaurs went extinct. Our last common link with octopuses is likely about twice that, 750 million years back. Animals might not be from an alien planet, but many are certainly from an alien time. Which is not to say that animals will be rivaling humans anytime soon. They're busy with their own shit, often literally, but until extraterrestrials message us back. If it's different similars we're looking for, if it's unknowable minds we're after, haven't they been here the whole time? And is the problem really that they're not smart enough to speak our languages, or that we're currently too daft to understand theirs? It's got a door. Fred?